Right, Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats have rushed a vote today on what they're calling the Respect for Marriage Act. I call it the Disrespect for Marriage Act. It's their attempt to codify into law the 2015 Supreme Court decision in Obergefell versus Hodges. This is the redefining of marriage, despite the fact that over half the states had passed constitutional amendments defining marriage as it had been for 5,000 years of human history. In fact, we're going to have Chip Roy be joining. He's going to be joining us in a moment, but they're actually still on the floor. Here's something that Chip Roy had to say earlier about this bill on the House floor.
Now, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to put forward a bill that is clearly political in nature. They don't want to talk about inflation. They don't want to talk about wide open borders. They don't want to talk about rampant crime. They don't want to talk about the state of this country in decline, heading into a recession, or people are hurting across the country. They don't want to talk about that. So they bring forward a political bill.
Chip, thanks so much for joining us. I know has the vote actually taken place yet?
No, interesting. I think we've got two more appropriations amendment votes, and then I think in about 10 minutes we'll vote on the actual bill.
All right, we just played a clip of the floor debate earlier today and your remarks on the so-called Respect Marriage Law, which we call it the Disrespect Marriage Act. Tell us what's going on. What's behind this?
Well, first of all, this is being rushed through for political purposes by Democrats, right? We got the bill yesterday about an hour and a half before rules. It didn't go through the Judiciary Committee. It wasn't marked up. They're blowing over regular order, and they don't care. They're doing it for a crass political purpose because they know that there are a lot of Republicans who would normally oppose this, who are now trying to think through it, going, wait, what are you talking about? Full faith and credit. Obergefell is already the law. And that's why the process matters, right? If you go through this, you and I both know this would be Congress stepping in. And for the first time, I think, if a majority of Republicans do this, and I don't know what the numbers are going to be in the end, I hope it's not. I'm whipping against it as much as I can. A block of Republicans are going to vote for this under this false notion that somehow under full faith and credit, we must recognize marriages across state lines, which would be in direct contradiction to Texas law. It would be in direct contradiction to what the current people of Texas have said on their books with respect to definition of marriage being one man and one woman. And they would also be hiding behind interracial marriage in doing so. And there's no comparison. You might remember that Clarence Thomas noted in footnote 5 in Obergefell the long history of how anti-misogynist laws were all about slavery and about those particular issues, and suppressing outlying slaves was actually one quote. Marriage, on the other hand, is an institution that spans millennia and cultures. It's rooted in the foundation of a stable society built around the family. I hope Republicans don't fall for this trap.
Well, in the latest Republican Party platform, the 2016, the 2020 platform, very clear on this, even after the Obergefell ruling, that the Republican Party recognized that marriage between a man and a woman was essential to the well-being of society. So what's changed?
Nothing has changed. That's where the will of the people remains. It was a mere 7 years ago that the court created this definition of marriage, redefining marriage. And Republicans would be foolish today to say, oh, well, okay, I guess because more people now have said, okay, I guess we're okay with that they're suddenly going to say that we should redefine marriage and codify that. They've not voted for that. And I don't think they understand exactly what they're doing when they see this stuff about, well, full faith and credit, well, we just got to recognize the marriage in another state. No. Full faith and credit there's a limit to full faith and credit. We don't have to recognize a marriage license from another state any more than a medical license or a lawyer, bar license. And we have Texas has spoken very clearly on this. I won't speak to other states' laws, but Texas is very clear. And it would be an error for Republicans to ignore platforms, ignore our values, ignore the institution of marriage, simply because they've gotten comfortable 7 years after an erroneous Supreme Court
decision. Well,
decision.
and very quickly, Clarence Thomas, in his opinion in the Dobbs case, points out the fact that many of these rights have been created. They weren't constitutional. There was no constitutional right to redefine marriage. And so as they see the rationale of Dobbs and the fact that we have a court returning to the Constitution, that has the left scared to death because the court's no longer doing their legislating.
That's right. And also note what Justice Thomas said, and this is important. when he's criticizing so-called substantive due process, which is a completely absurd legal theory that's oxymoronic on its face, he noted, look, what I'm saying is that we could go back and relook at some of these rights that were established under substantive due process under any other theory. But what he's saying is that using substantive due process was wrong. Right. If you want to have a debate about those other issues, let's have a debate about that and look at it legally.
Right.
And I think that's an important part of this. He was criticizing the how. He didn't issue a decision on each issue on its own right.
Right. It's all about process, and that's what makes our system of law work, and it's critical for stability. Congressman Chip Roy, always great to talk with you. Thanks for your leadership, and thanks for speaking out boldly, both in the committee and on the House floor today.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I just hope Republicans recognize it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Don't go vote for gay marriage. That's it.
All right, thanks.